Hello everyone, welcome back to today's video. If you guys are new here, my name's Liz, and for today's video, I'm going to share with you guys some really fun and really cute Christmas DIYs. Our first one being this DIY ribbon tree that I'm going to recreate in a bigger version. I had so many requests to redo this tree and make a bigger version of it so that you guys can see how I DIY'd it. So let's go ahead and jump right into that DIY. For this DIY, I grabbed one of these paper trees from Hobby Lobby. It was 50% off at the time that I purchased it. There's a couple different options that you could do. You could buy one of those, or you could always just buy one of the styrofoam shaped cones that, look like trees. That would work as well. The first thing that you're going to do is grab some ribbon. I chose 3 different kind of styles of ribbon or different colors. A glittery gold one, a nice green one, and then a plaid green one as well. Whatever colors you want to do works. You want to make sure though that all of your ribbon is the same size. At least that's how I prefer it. You could obviously do this however you want to do it. I just chose to make all of my ribbon 1.5 inches so that they were all nice and cohesive. Now I'm just going to start out by cutting about 7-inch strips for each of my ribbon, and I didn't really count how many strips I was cutting. If I had to guess, I would probably say 7 strips each. To begin with, you're going to need a lot more than that, but I didn't want to cut out way more than I needed and then have a whole bunch of strips left over, so I just kind of eyeballed it at first and then gradually cut more pieces of ribbon as I needed it. Now you're going to take your ribbon strips, you're going to fold them in half, and you are going to glue the tops together. I do this for all of my pieces. You could do all this at one time or do it as you are gluing down each piece to your tree form. All you're going to do is put your ribbon towards the bottom, leave a little bit of overhang so you can't really see that bottom portion, and then hot glue it down. And then just do a pattern, whatever pattern you want. I just, did the 3 colors or the 3 different types of ribbon in a pattern, and I just went around all of the bottom portion of my tree. And then on my second row, I'm going to put my ribbon down right on top of 2 pieces of ribbon on the first row, right in the middle. It's going to cover up that gap in between the other 2 pieces of ribbon, so you're not going to see the brown underneath. And I like to have my ribbon stagger rather than up the entire tree. It's all just in one perfect line. This is going to stagger your ribbon, and that's just how I prefer it. Obviously, you can do it exactly how you want it. I like to have my ribbon staggered, and then it also helps cover up those gaps in between each piece of ribbon. And I'm just going to do this all the way at my tree. This exact same thing, this exact same pattern, all the way up. If I run out of ribbon strips, I'm just going to cut some more, hot glue them together, and then continuing to hot glue them to my tree form. And sometimes my patterns didn't work out perfectly. I had, patterns out of order, and that's totally okay. It does not have to be perfect by any means. It doesn't have to be the perfect pattern. It doesn't have to go the exact perfect way. I did it a little bit more messy than I normally do, and I liked it that way. So however you do it, it'll look great. And then for a finishing touch, I just took one of these stars that I got at Hobby Lobby in a pack of their mini ornaments, and I just stuck this right on top, and that's it for this DIY. Really quickly, before we jump into our next DIY, if you guys don't know, I make and sell wood craft kits. I just released some more wood craft kits over on my website today. These ones are customizable, so if you are looking for something with your guys' names on it, or if you're looking for some little Christmas words to use in your DIY projects, head on over to my website and you can snag those up. I will always link my website down in my description box. It's just www.moorevinyldecals.com. Let's go ahead and jump into our next DIY. For this DIY, I grabbed one of these Let It Snow signs from the Dollar Tree. I am going to cut this thing apart to get it into the shape that I want it. So what I'm going to do is measure out a straight line towards the bottom. I just use that little tag portion to kind of draw myself a straight line. And then from there, I took that line and went up about 2 inches in the middle and then on each side to draw another straight line. So I made sure everything was nice and straight and even. And then I'm going to cut that line using a utility knife. I just use this metal square ruler that I got from the Dollar Tree to kind of help me keep a straight, nice line. And I'm going to cut the sign down just using that utility knife. I didn't get all the way through it, but once you're through it enough, you can kind of bend it back and forth and it will snap apart, which makes it really easy. And then for the edges, I just use my scissors to kind of clean it up. And then I also use some sandpaper to really make sure that that edge was nice and sanded down and clean looking. And then I did end up removing all the paper off the back so that I didn't have any of that glitter and just going absolutely everywhere. So I just tore that paper off and I can cover it up later. To paint this, I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint and moss, and I just gave this 2 good coats. So what I'm going here for is a little beanie sign or a winter hat sign. I thought that this turned out super cute. So once that's painted, I'm going to set that to the side to dry. I'm going to make a little pom-pom for the top of my hat. I'm going to take some yarn. This can be any yarn that you have, whatever color you want to do. I just had this in my stash and I'm going to wrap it around my hand a good probably 50 times. I wanted my pom-pom to be really thick and poofy. You can make it whatever size that you want. If you want it smaller, don't do as many loops around your hand. If you want it really big, just keep wrapping it around your hand. Now I'll cut the end of the loops and I'll take all the loops off of my hand. I'm going to cut an excess piece of yarn and I'm going to tie that around all those loops right in the middle. And I do a good double knot, making sure that double knot is really nice and tight. Once I have that in place, I'm just going to take my scissors and cut all of those loops. You're going to cut every single one. Make sure that there are no hidden ones in there. I had to go through and dig through them a couple times to make sure that I had all the loops completely cut. And then once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and just trim it all down and make sure that everything is nice and even. You don't have longer pieces of yarn in one place than the other. So I just gave it a nice good haircut. Then you have a cute little pom-pom to go on top of your hat. I'm going to set that to the side. I am going to take this CHRSTMAS transfer. This is actually a pumpkin, but it had this really cute kind of yarn knit pattern to it. So I stuck that on there. I used some painter's tape to make sure I didn't get the stem on there and tried to cover up the round parts as much as I can. And I am going to use my white chalk paste to get this pattern onto the hat. And I'm just going to do this several times. I'll remove the transfer and then I'll put it back on a different area. And then I'll go back over it again. I didn't go all the way down because I am going to have yarn covering the bottom portion. So I just started right towards the bottom, just not all the way at the bottom, and then did it all the way up. I tried to match up my lines as best as I could until I had everything covered that I wanted covered. Now I'm going to take that same yarn, I'm going to hot glue it to the back of one side, and then I'm just going to start wrapping my yarn around the bottom portion until I've covered up the bottom portion of where my CHRSTMAS transfer was. So you can't see the bottom where it used to just be green. I'm going to cover all of that green up, and then I'll just hot glue the remaining portion to the back. And then I'll hot glue my little pom-pom to the very top. And then to add a finishing touch to it, I'm going to take one of these snowflake wood stickers from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to take a metallic gold paint, and then I'm just going to give it 2 coats of paint. Once that's dry, I will just hot glue it to my little beanie winter hat. And that's it for this DIY. I thought this turned out so stinking cute. For this project, I'm going to take one of these wooden gnomes that you can get from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to take 5 of these wooden planks that you can also get from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to start by cutting off all the twine hangers that are on all of them, and I'm going to fill all the holes with some wood filler. You don't necessarily have to do this, but I did it for good measure just in case my frame did not cover them. I also remove the twine hanger from the gnome, and I put wood filler in the little hole at the top of his hat as well. Now I'm going to take all 5 of those wood plank pieces and my Waverly chalk paint and plaster, and I'm just going to give them one rough coat. I want to see some of that natural wood peeking through, so I just make sure to just kind of do a messy coat of this. I wanted it to look more rustic, so I only did just that one messy coat. And then for my gnome, I'm going to take some of this Dixie Belle chalk paint in Barn Red. I think this color is so pretty, especially for Christmas time, and I'm going to paint his hat one coat in this, and then his little legs and boots in this color as well. For his beard, I'm just going in with my Waverly chalk paint in white. I give his beard one good coat, and then somehow I don't have the footage anymore of me just kind of adding some streaks of gray to his beard, just to give his beard a little bit more dimension and, you know, make it look a little bit more gray and salt peppery. Now I'm going to take all 5 of those planks that I had painted. I'm going to turn them onto their back, and I'm going to use large popsicle sticks to adhere them all together. I just tried to line them up as straight as I possibly could, and then I'm just going to attach them all together using those popsicle sticks and some hot glue. And then I grabbed a square dowel from Lowe's. This is a 1/4 inch square dowel, and I cut it into 4 pieces. So you're going to cut 2 pieces the same size for the top and the bottom, and then 2 pieces the same size for the sides. I didn't measure this, I just kind of eyeball it. So I don't know a specific measurement, but I just put it up against my sign and marked with a pencil where I needed to cut it, and then cut it that way. Now to put it all together, I'm going to take some E6000 because I really want to make sure that this is going to stick and stay. And then I used some Gorilla Gel super glue as well, and then I just started framing out my sign. I just put the bottom piece on first, and then I'll put the 2 side pieces, and then I will put the top piece on last. And then lastly, all I'm going to do is hot glue my gnome to the very middle. And that's it for this DIY. I think this is so cute. It's just a very simple and rustic sign that I just think is perfect for Christmas. for this DIY, I'm going to take one of these scoreboard signs that I actually picked up from the Target dollar spot. It was $5. I just flipped it onto its back. I'm going to take my CHRSTMAS mistletoe transfers and use that on here. And I think this sign turned out so stinking cute. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut out the kisses are free and then the little mistletoe picture, and I'm going to start by just fuzzing up my transfers. I want to make sure that I get these nice and fuzzed up so that they aren't sticking too much onto my little sign and messing up my transfers. So I just fuzz and fuzz and fuzz. And then once I've got those all fuzzed up, I'm just going to stick them down to my little scoreboard, and I'll just use my little squeegee tool to make sure that it's nice and stuck down there. And then I will center my kisses are free towards the bottom. And for the kisses are free, I'm going to use just my plain white chalk paste for all of the words. You want to make sure that you do this a little bit quickly so that the chalk paste doesn't pull up with the transfer itself. So once I've got that on there, I'm just going to pull my transfer up, and the words look so nice and clean and just perfect on there. And then the next one I'm going to do is this glittery green color. I just used a little bit from the single packet that I have, and I'm going to go over the mistletoe with it. Once I've got all the green on there, I'm going to pull the transfer up, and then I'm going to dry the green portion completely, and then I will lay the transfer back down, and I will put the red over all the berries and the bow. Now, you could have done this before. I am not perfect with CHRSTMAS at all. I am still learning and figuring out how to do things the correct way. This is just how I did it. I just went back over it with red where I wanted it, and then you have some cute red berries and a red bow, and I just think that this turned out absolutely adorable. I'll always link CHRSTMAS in my description box. I am a designer with them, and I'm obsessed. I love the way that this turned out. And that's it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what your favorite project was in my comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe before you guys leave. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.